Good evening, my friends. I'm Nero, and welcome. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. See, I had an idea, and I wanted to explore that idea because today's phobia is thanatophobia, or the fear of death. Now, I've discussed thanatophobia, I've discussed death, more accurately, in several of my videos and several of my live streams. If you haven't seen me on Twitch, I'm on Twitch usually most Friday nights. If you haven't seen my videos, then how did you get here in the first place? Anyway, the point is, I wanted to do something different for this because there wasn't a good game. Most of these things I've been exploring, I've been doing by using my not insubstantial library of Steam games. And while there are lots of games in which you can die, there wasn't anything that really explored more of the deeper sentiments of death. And I was racking my brain trying to figure out how to do that. And so today's video is just going to be me having a conversation with you about death and about what death means to me and about the different aspects of death. To begin with, let's go explore my name, or at least my screen name. I am Nero Lazarus. That is my handle, if you will, and it served me well. Nero, of course, being the tyrannical emperor, the conqueror, and also being Latin for kind of black, truly dark, with malevolent connotation. And my aesthetic is usually black, for instance. And as I said in my very first video, I am a conqueror of worlds. Man, that was corny. But my reasoning with that is that I have all these fictional worlds to explore, and these things I can do, and these stories I can share with you, and we can conquer them together. This has been kind of a journey, which has also led to the second part of my handle, if you will, which is Lazarus. When I first started my YouTube journey, I was doing a lot of brainstorming, and most of my brainstorming was kept in a folder labeled "What if I did a thing?" Because it's a unique idea. Coming into YouTube and doing this journey with complete strangers or friends or the public. It's a journey, and Lazarus was the way of me kind of acknowledging that I have died many times in my life, and I don't mean physically. I mean more of the sense of the death of self. Who I was as a child, who I was as a teenager, who I was, heck, even just 10 years ago. Those people they've all died. And I am something reborn from their remains. And it's important to look at the idea of the death of self as as a transition, but also an ending. Because you are not that person anymore. You are not the same person you were 5 years ago. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago, 20, however long you'd like to go back. You're not even the same person you were 10 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago, we weren't having this conversation. 10 minutes ago, you were doing something else. And time moves quicker than people realize. And people change. They don't change as quick as people think, but they do change, and the change is pretty steady and constant. So when I started doing YouTube, it was a death of who I was before doing this. And who I have been doing this, well, he's dying too. I don't know who I will be as we continue this journey. I don't know. And it's a fascinating thing to explore. But I also want to get to the concept of actual death, of actual endings. I have a great many plans, I have a great many ideas that I want to explore and share. And I want to hear your ideas too. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you're interested in. I want to know what you want. Because that is part of life. And you can't have death without life. Life is an integral part of death. I lost my train of thought. That happens sometimes. And so when we started exploring death, I actually have 3 or 4 gameplay videos and 3 or 4 introductions that I wanted to do. I wanted to make a reference to a fantastically made and artistic masterpiece that was Unus Honus. If you know, you know. If you don't, you had to have been there. You had to be there. It's gone. It's over. It's dead. It only had a year. It only had a year to live, and it's dead now. But I didn't want to rely on other content creators for this. So I will acknowledge that Unus Honus happened. I was there for it. It was great. I loved it. I'm actually wearing an Unus Honus shirt. Unus Honus, Memento Mori. But that is a different time. That was somebody else. And I was someone else when it was happening. And I'm someone else now that it has ended. We all are. And I thought about doing some sort of roguelite game or roguelike game. I actually did a playthrough of NetHack, which is one of the older and yet more recent roguelike games. And it is interesting in that if you die, it deletes your save file and you have to start over from scratch. It doesn't matter how far you've progressed, it doesn't matter how well you've been doing up to that point. It's over. Your character dies. It's dead. But that didn't really capture the essence of what I wanted to convey either. There were a lot of options, a lot of opportunities, and I thought about just doing whatever I wanted. It doesn't matter. It's my channel. I can do whatever I want on my channel. And while that's true, that still doesn't convey the message that I want. So I do want to talk about another content creator. Silly though that may seem, I actually want to talk about a couple of them. We'll start with what kind of got me into YouTube in the first place. Because there are a lot of people I know that don't really watch YouTube. They don't care for it. They don't get it. They will use it for watching specific videos. Um, sorry, I'm trying to be close enough that we can have this conversation because sometimes the microphone doesn't pick me up. Anyway, um, content creators, yes. So they don't get YouTube. They don't understand it, and I was kind of in that boat. I would look things up on YouTube. I would look up tutorials and how tos and what's this sound my car is making and why do I care? And but I never really understood the whole concept of like content creation. There were funny videos that would come up on various website skimming feeds, and that was fine. That was enough for me until I hit a low point. I hit a very low point. I was in a very rough place, and I think the algorithm knew. The YouTube algorithm knew that I was not doing well. Because it started filling my feed with Markiplier try not to laugh challenges. Yeah, the Markiplier try not to laugh challenges. That was my gateway drug, as it were, to YouTube because nothing was making me smile. I would get up, I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd sleep. Occasionally, I would eat, not very often. I wasn't taking very good care of myself. I isolated a lot. I I was pretty withdrawn, and it was not good. It was not healthy, and I recognize that now. And that was one of my many deaths. And then Mark Fishbach, aka Markiplier, started showing up on my feed, doing try not to laugh challenges, and he presented himself in such a way that you felt a personal connection with this guy. He's got millions of subscribers, millions of followers. He's got he's got millions of fans. He could not pick you out of a crowd except on YouTube when he would talk directly to you. Directly to you. Just like you and I are talking right now. He was having a very personal conversation. It was two friends hanging out and talking about other people, sure, and watching funny videos, sure, and all that, but it was a very personal connection. And it was enough to jostle my mind into rebirth. I'm still not perfect by any means. I still have my low points and my rough points, but on some of my darkest days, I'll still go back and I will watch Try Not to Laugh with Markiplier. And that got me into some of his other videos. And his Let's Plays. And I didn't understand Let's Plays until I started watching some of them. And I didn't get it until that. And then I'm like, oh, it reminded me of my childhood. Or parts of my childhood. It reminded me of getting together with some of my best friends and playing through a game. Or taking turns playing through a game, watching each other play and hanging out and socializing, and also doing that with my brothers, just sitting and playing a game. Sure, they were playing a single player game, but I could watch. Oh, that was cool. That was great. It was awesome. And that's what Let's Plays are. It's just getting to hang out and enjoy the content of a game without the pressure of having to play it yourself. Or it it kind of whets your appetite. It makes you think, oh, I could do this differently. Especially, especially when they die. When you see them fail something that you're like, oh, all they had to do was this. Oh, all they had to do that, and it makes you want to play the game. So it's good for both sides. It's good for the content creators. It's good for the audience, and it's also good for the developers. So it's three sides. I said both, but I mean three. By both, I mean three. So I started watching Let's Plays because the job I was working, I didn't have time to play games myself, but I could watch and listen to somebody else play a game while I was working. It was great. So that's what I did. That's how I consumed a lot of these games. And I got into more and more and more different content creators. I've mentioned before Chilled Chaos. Fantastic guy. He does most of his stuff on Twitch, but then he uploads it to YouTube. It's great. He's a lot of fun. And I started watching him by watching Zero Oil Viking. And I started watching Zero Oil Viking by watching the Game Grumps, apologies, Game Grumps uh, group invite for Among Us when Among Us started really regaining popularity. It was great. Um, and from that, I have found a bunch of content creators. And I started playing games with my friends because it made me want to play games with my friends. I started building these friend groups. I started building these friend circles to where I could play games. And yeah, it actually led me to meet one of my very good friends, my dear friend Sugar Phantom, whom I call Dead Sweets. I have linked her channel in several of my videos. Dead Sweets and I have gotten to play games a lot. It's great. She is also a content creator. She also faces some of the challenges of content creation, which is sometimes you just don't have time, especially if you have a day job, if you have full-time life, if you have limited access to the resources you need, like high-speed internet and a powerful enough computer, all these things. But we still get to play games together. We still have fun and we still bounce ideas off of each other for content creation, for video editing, for recording methods, all these things. And so yeah, if you haven't checked out her thing, I'm probably going to link it in this video too. And she has kind of the same spooky sweet aesthetic that I do. I'm less sweet. I'm more spooky. As another one of my friends described me as, I go for kind of a morbid Mr. Rogers. Um, which, as far as aesthetics to have, that's not a bad one to aspire to. So I started, so I had all these ideas and I had all these influences and I had all these games because I would see somebody play a game. I'd be like, oh, that looks fun. And I'd get it. And I'd never play it. Never have time to play it. But I'd keep finding these games on sale. And so I'd get these bundles of games on sale. I'd buy them. They'd sit in my library, not installed. I just have them. It's fine. What am I going to do with all these games? I want to play them, but I don't want to just play them myself and then not be able to convey anything. And Quinn, our dear friend Quinn, you beautiful, delightful piece of crap. Every time we would play, every time we would do something, Quinn would suggest, you got the charisma, just do YouTube. Why don't you just do YouTube? I don't have it. I don't have a complete and utter lack of confidence in myself for one thing. That's a leading reason. why don't you do YouTube? Fine. So I fire up this folder and I start doing brainstorming notes. What if I did a thing? What is gonna set my channel apart? What am I gonna do different? All these ideas. I want to do these kind of ASMR food prep videos, like to where it's just like showing how to put together a quick, easy meal in like 5 minutes, but still a decent meal that you don't feel bad about eating. Um, you don't have to feel great about it, but it's still like, it's not fast food. It's food I can eat made fast. And I wanted to do it. I'm still intending to make these videos. Now I have a better kitchen for it. Um, because I want to show that, hey, a lot of this stuff you can do even if all you have is a break room at work. Because all you need is access to water and a microwave for like 95% of what I'm making. That's all you need. Because you can do some shortcuts. You can find some workarounds for a lot of things. And you'll notice I keep checking the time. There's a reason for that. But yeah, I want to do those. I want to do time lapse of my garden. But I moved, so I can't do time lapse of my garden because my garden is in pieces and halfway between here and where I lived before. So that's its own challenge. I want to do these videos, and I didn't realize how much work, how much effort creating videos is. Looking back, I look at I look at some of my earlier videos, especially Fable, when all I was doing was just playing through and yammering while I play through whatever. And I think, oh, those were the days. Those were the days. All I had to do was just play a game and speak whatever was on my mind. Those days are behind me. That content creator is dead. I'm someone else. I'm someone who thinks it's a good idea to do Spooktober, to invent something they're calling Spooktober, and to do a video every day for the entire month. That's insane, especially because it's a different video the entire day every month. It's insane because I have done all the thumbnails, all the intro, all the editing for all of my videos, each one for the entire month, in addition to also moving, having a full-time job. Have I mentioned any of this before? Moving, that's a death in and of itself. That's the end of an era. I lived in that house for over a decade. That's the first house I bought. I bought that house when I was 21. And I have lived there ever since. Until now. Now I'm moving. And it does feel a bit like a death. It feels like the end of an era. We're running out of time. I do want to briefly talk about actual physical death. At least to an extent. Because whatever your spiritual beliefs, whatever your personal divine inclinations, whatever your views are regarding an afterlife, we all must acknowledge and cannot deny that physical death happens. Ultimately, all of us physically die. Who we are, our physical form, dies. It will happen to all of us. For some, that is just part of life. For some, it is something to be avoided. For some, it is the enemy they fight every day. And for some, they believe that the body dies, but the spirit goes on. For others, they believe that that's the end. And death is an end. Every death is an end. There are so many things that we all want to say. There are so many things we all want to do before we run out of time. And as I said earlier, time moves faster than any of us realize. See, I looked up earlier and I did a little bit of research, and the average human lifespan, the average human lifespan for an adult male in the United States is 73.5 years. That is the average lifespan. Now, I personally am 34 and a half, which means I have roughly 39 years based on averages. Now, those can go up and down based on, of course, income, lifestyle, even where you live, simple things like that. And I myself have faced literal death more than once. I don't want to go into the details of those situations, not because I am in any way ashamed of them or afraid of them or embarrassed of them. Quite the opposite. I I don't really fear physical death. It's not something I'm rushing towards, but it is not something I shy away from. There is nothing wrong with those who shy away from it. There is nothing wrong with a healthy sense of self preservation. Nothing at all. And there's nothing wrong with those who are somewhat fearless when it comes to it. They have a different personal calling. Death is an old friend. Death is someone that we haven't seen in a while. Death is the absence of life. It is from before we were born and from after we're gone. And just about everyone has lost someone. Death has touched everyone's lives in some way or another. And it is okay to mourn their loss. It is okay to recognize that your life without theirs is different. But there is still life. And for all that there is death, there will continue to be life. Because we would not be able to recognize death if we did not have life to begin with. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. And just as with life, as I find myself running out of time on this video, I find that there are things I wish I had done differently, wish I had said differently. There are topics I wish I had discussed and explored. There are things I would have liked to do differently, but I didn't. I did what I did and I said what I said, And this video is what I have. This video is what is going to go up. Saying that, I am forced to resist intrusive thoughts, because when you're like, yeah, I'm committing to this, sometimes intrusive thoughts come in. I mentioned earlier I had done some research about ages. So what I did was I took the 39 years that I have approximately remaining, and I multiplied them by 52. 52 weeks per year. And I got 2,000 something. 39 times 52. 2,028. I have averagely 2,028 weeks left. That's a bit of a long video. So I divided that by 60. Because if you have 60 seconds per minute, you end up with 33.8 minutes. Which is 33 minutes and 48 seconds. And this video will be 33 minutes and 48 seconds. That is how long this video will be alive. And you can have the memory of this video. You can have the memory of the first time you watched this video. But this video ends at 33 minutes and 48 seconds. And I may have had some ideas of what I wanted to do coming into this, but many of those ideas changed, and many of them ended. And as I am approaching the end, I am hesitant to get into anything too deep, to get into anything too heavy, because I know the end is near. We all know the end is near. We may not know exactly when it's coming, at least not unless we're paying very close attention, but we know it's coming. For some of my other videos, I did fade outs. And for this one, I'm not going to. One moment I'll be here, and the next I won't. There will be more videos. We have a week left of Spooktober to get through. And we're going to be exploring some interesting subjects. Coming up we're going to explore some of my personal fears and phobias. And we're going to be celebrating the end of the month. But for now, in case I don't get the chance, farewell, my friends. I'm glad you're here with me. I'm glad we're here